So, welcome to another episode of The Marketer's Edge, a series designed to share senior level marketing perspective about marketer challenges, opportunities, and agency relationships. Our goal is to help marketers and agencies learn from other marketers across different industries. Today, we're talking with David Eldred, the Chief Experience Officer for Solarity Credit Union, based out of Yakima, Washington. David's located in Idaho, and David wanted to thank you today, welcome you, and how have you been doing?
It's great to be here, Mark. Thanks for having me. 2023, it's already here.
It's crazy.
It's going to be an exciting year, I think.
I know it should be. They all seem to be, but yeah, looking forward to a brand new year. So I've got a small handful of questions for you, but before we do that, can you tell me a little bit about Solarity and what you do for the organization? I'd like our audience to kind of know what kind of credit union Solarity is and what you do for them. And I'm particularly interested in your title, Chief Experience Officer. I'm curious, how are your responsibilities different from, say, someone that might carry a CMO title? So, can you talk to me a little bit about what you're doing for Solarity as it relates to experience, as you sort of describe the organization and your role?
Sure. Well, Solarity is a credit union. We're based in Yakima, Washington, and we have about 59,000 members and a community charter. So that means if you live, work, worship, or go to school anywhere in Washington state, you're eligible to join Solarity. And as a credit union, we offer all of the banking services you'd find at every other, even big bank. But we like to think we have a special sauce, and we call that member obsession.
Hmm.
And that has a lot to do with the chief experience title. Member obsession is a way of doing business that puts members at the center of every business decision. And that's a little different, I think, in financial services, where banks oftentimes start with kind of policies and procedures. We're regulated after all, and then trying to marry that up or make it palatable for their customers. And we've taken a little different stance, that we start first by understanding what our members, need, want, desire from their financial services partner, and then craft everything around that. So if we make a change to a policy or develop a new product, we don't build it and then try to find a home for it. We're starting with the member at the center and then building out from there as to what they need and want and hope to achieve from their banking partner. And that's kind of like what the chief experience officer title is all about. As CXO, my job is to use data and feedback to deeply understand our members and then make it easy for them to do business with us, make it an effortless experience. And so to do that, I've got a few different business units that report up through me. First is marketing. They're out there making the promise, attracting new members to the organization, and then looking for opportunities to deepen relationships with existing members. And then, of course, our CX team, our customer experience team, their job is to optimize experiences, make it easy, effective, satisfying to do business with us. And then branch operations. That's where you visit our physical locations, our branches. And our teams have what we hope are consultative experiences, consultative conversations to help you as a member achieve your financial goals. I've also got our digital experience unit, and that's what you might think of in banking as online or mobile banking,
Right.
online account openings, uh, digital loan applications, that sort of thing.
Okay. I'm
So,
curious. The CX piece is just sounds a little bit different. I was thinking before you mentioned digital experience, thinking that CX might their responsibilities might sort of center on the digital experience that the customer has. What can you just for our listeners and frankly for my sake, my own edification, what can you talk to me a little bit about what CX is and what kind of things they look at and try and influence?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of crossover between CX and marketing. I think, in fact, most of my career was spent in marketing and product development, those sorts of things. And so the CX is kind of a broader umbrella under which some of those functions fit. But
Okay.
CX, I kind of think of it as all the X's. So we've got CX, which is customer experience,
Hmm.
DX, which is digital experience. We've got UX, which is user experiences and user interfaces.
Yep.
And then, if you really want to think about it, we also are increasingly pulling in EX, which is employee experiences.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
You know,
Yep, absolutely. That's really cool. I mean, I've talked to a number of credit unions and banks, and they've never really sort of broken it down at that level, and I haven't, and that's why I was intrigued with your title. I've seen, experience-based titles in other industries, but hadn't seen one yet in the banking or credit union space. They may be out there, but they're certainly haven't personally seen one yet, so that's great. Great
right?
to hear that, and I love the whole notion of being was it customer obsessed? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, member obsessed for us because we're a
Member
credit
obsessed.
union,
Yeah,
but
sorry,
customer
the members,
obsession,
not customers.
CX is customer. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's member obsession is the pinnacle of what we call the maturity curve for member experiences,
got
and
it.
it's a lofty goal. I mean, I think there's only a handful of organizations, in the United States that probably can claim to have achieved a state of customer obsession or member obsession.
Yeah,
But there's a whole spectrum to it, and we're kind of our goal is to achieve that state of member obsession. So
yeah. How do you measure the success of achieving that? Do you survey members? What are your KPIs, I guess, in determining whether you're moving in the right direction on that member obsession sort
right.
of pinnacle?
Well, there's a spectrum, as you say. At the very bottom of that spectrum might be companies that you might call are member naive, right? They don't see the
Okay.
point in understanding their members. You think of utility companies, the cable company, your cell phone carrier, um, and as you progress up, generally companies become much more increasingly um, customer centric, where they're considering the feedback loops, like you mentioned, of surveys. We have a very
Mhm.
robust surveying platform. We survey dozens of interaction points that we want to understand how those experiences are going. But then we also survey our members every other month on what we call their relationship. And so
Okay,
a KPI on the relationship is the net promoter score. We measure that.
that's great.
And one of the things that we've added to that survey is your life as a member made better by being a member of Solarity? And I want to brag a little bit. We've got 85% of our members who claim that their life has been made better by being a member of the credit unions.
That that is awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine that many bank banks can make those claims. Or
probably not.
yeah, I know credit unions definitely try and focus on their membership differently than a bank might its customers, and so but 85% is fantastic. So it looks like you've pretty much, you mentioned this, kind of worked in the banking or credit union space your entire professional career. I'm curious, what about the industry have you found most appealing professionally and personally as well?
Well, I was thinking about this, and it's kind of funny, but financial services is a little bit unique. It's something everyone needs, and yet no one wants. Right? I mean, you think about it, nobody wants a loan, but you do want the home or the car or the boat that the loan allows you to purchase. And so in financial services, the thing that I've always enjoyed about it is our job is to facilitate dreams, goals, aspirations, whatever it is. and helping people achieve what's important to them, right? There's lots of tools that we in banking have to help members achieve their goals. And so that's why I think, CX is kind of uniquely suited
Hmm.
to owning marketing. We think about what members need from their perspective and then work to help them achieve those goals. So we're not really selling them alone. We're helping them achieve a dream. And that's
Yeah,
that's kind of a nice way of looking at what we do. Um, the other thing I've loved about financial services is that we have so much data about our members. Occasionally throughout my career, I've wondered, well, what would it be like to work in other industries? And I'm part of a CMO club, and we get people from all over the nation, chief marketing officers from other industries, talking
hmm,
about how they one of their primary goals is to try to get more data about their customers and understand and try to use that to understand them. And our problem is almost the opposite. We have so much data that the challenge is to literally try not to paralyze yourself with analysis.
sure. Yeah,
Use that information to personalize experiences, the right product, the right time, to exactly what that person needs. And so personalization, when you have all of that data at your disposal, it sounds like it would be easier, but it's never easy, and so it's fun. It to try to contemplate that challenge and then move the needle in a meaningful way.
yeah. So you enjoy sort of that aspect, just having that challenge of how to maximize the effectiveness and use of the data that you have.
Right, and there's a lot of technology that comes into
Yeah,
play with that. I'm sure
I'm
we'll get to
sure.
it in
I'm
a minute,
sure.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
never dull.
I'm sure. How does the data influence the marketing of the credit union?
Well, it's right now we're in the middle of enhancing our member segmentation methodology. Right, we
Okay.
came up with a methodology about 2 years ago, and it was great for the task at hand. We were remodeling, really transforming all of our branches, to remove tellers. Right, like we're a little different. We don't have a teller line. We have self-service kiosks, and yet there's people in the branch, of course, to help facilitate those conversations. And
Hmm.
heading into this kind of very disruptive, transformative experience, we knew we needed to understand how this would affect our members. So we came up with a segmentation methodology, evaluated, I think it was 10 million transactions by our members, and sliced them into how they were using the different channels through which our services are delivered. And it served us well. But what we realized was we needed a much more deeper understanding of who our ideal member was, this,
Yeah.
call it our target persona. And so using data to understand them more deeply required reevaluating this methodology for segmentation. So we're in the middle of that right now. It's a big data challenge.
Yeah.
I think it probably is going to involve some machine learning, maybe some AI, but it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for all this data that we have about
Yeah.
how people interact with us, what they need, and then supplementing that with external resources that truly are amazing. So
Yeah.
it's an exciting challenge.
Do you do all that work internally in terms of the analysis and sort of redefining, the methodology and segmenting and all that, or do you use outside support to help with some of that?
Well, it's a mix of both, right? I mean, our first member segmentation method we developed in house.
Okay.
I think it was a great way of looking at things. This the second iteration of that is a much more complex model. Um, and the challenge is that I think we are going to need to supplement or augment our internal resources with some form of an external partner who has probably got the chops to
Okay.
use machine learning and bring some of that really advanced analytic tools to the table. And so we've got a few partners that help us in that regard, and so we it's a blend of both internal and external resources. I think is a great model especially for the size organization we are.
That's right. So I'm curious, when you were at the Bank of the Cascades, you implemented something you called RVM, or Relationship Value Management, into the retail deposit line of your business. You noted in your LinkedIn profile that RVM proved to be an invaluable tool in developing a relationship-based pricing strategy. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that concept, as it might have value for other marketers listening that operate in other service oriented businesses.
Sure. That's RVM, or Relationship Value Management, was a module that was relatively new at the time.
Okay.
And what it allowed us to do was automate the pricing of products and services, and do so based on the depth of a customer's relationship with the organization.
Okay.
Meaning, the more business that you as a customer did with my organization, the more you unlocked better deals and more products and services. And it's more than just a rewards club, right? Like, there's reward air miles and things like that financial services has made use of for a long time. But this was an important step of this was the automation of that. And I'll use an example. Back in the day, before RVM, you might come to us and say, well, I'd like a home equity line of credit. And we would incentivize you to deepen that relationship, have more than just the home equity loan with us, by saying, well, okay, if you open a checking account with us, we'll give you a lower rate on the home equity line of credit.
Hmm.
And that decision was made as a snapshot in time. So the customer opened the home equity loan and the checking account, and they
Right.
qualified then for the lower price. But uh, the banking relationship can change. Sometimes the person might close the checking account, and yet the systems we had at that time, the price that had been unlocked by opening the checking account carried forward. It didn't change. Yet
Right.
the relationship changed. And so if the person closed when we added relationship value management, if they closed the checking account, then it changed the pricing of the home equity line of credit, and it would
Hmm.
generally go up. So that the net effect was that it created this feedback loop that was almost self-perpetuating. The member was incentivized to have a more full, deep, and broad relationship with the organization in return for pricing advantages on various products and services they used. And as they added more products, they unlocked other packages or deals. And if they made a change and pulled some of that business back, then those pricing concessions would float with the changing nature of their relationship.
Okay.
And so the automation is what really was an early unlocking of this idea that
Okay.
I've just always continued to pursue. Is
Yeah.
automation leverages data and technology in a way that otherwise used to rely on human beings to
Yeah.
take note of. So
Yep. Did you market that sort of approach or principal way in which you operated? Did that become central to sort of the positioning of the bank and on some level?
yeah, in fact, we were one of the very early adopters of something that I think is a little bit more ubiquitous now. The rewards
Okay.
checking account.
Okay.
If you
Sure.
use your
Yeah.
checking account, your debit card, and make, X number of purchases over the course of a
Sure.
month,
Sure.
then you earn a rate and maybe some other packaging deals. That was all
Okay.
powered by relationship value management and automated.
Got it.
Now, far more organizations have it, but at the time it was rather unique.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Great. That's great. So I'm curious, aside from the move to more mobile banking for members or customers, what would you say the one or two other big changes that you've seen happen in the industry? What do you think they've been?
Well, let's see. I've been at this a while, so thinking about major ones. One of the things that keeps getting more and more important is that banking really has become a game of scale, and I suppose that's true of a lot of industries. Um, but one reason that it became a game of scale is that all of these technologies, these systems that help
Mhm.
us be more effective, they're investments that carry a cost. And in order to remain kind of relevant to our members, we need those tools of the trade
Right.
to be spread across a larger base. And otherwise, you have a carrying cost that exceeds the capacity of the organization. So, um, one change, if you will, is not just the adoption of technology into marketing. Marketing is far more of a science now than the art that it once was, but also that banks and credit unions have recognized that the scale was necessary, and so mergers
Yeah.
became increasingly more prevalent, and in order to power the growth of the organizations.
Right.
I've been through 3 mergers myself, and they're very disruptive, but it unlocks the power of scale
Yeah.
more quickly than you can organically grow. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I would say you mentioned mobile banking, and certainly I think it's a mobile first world, of course,
Sure.
and mobile banking was just one aspect of that. But the pandemic really accelerated the adoption of that. That trend was long in the making, but the pandemic really uh, almost forced adoption by customers and members,
Yeah.
because banks had to close, at least
Right. Yeah.
initially. And
Yeah. Really did. Yeah.
think
So as
about
you look,
the
go ahead. I'm
mobile.
sorry.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, the mobile phone is literally the branch in your hand. You can do almost everything
Yeah.
that you can do inside of a branch
Yeah.
on your phone. So why come into the branch? The
Yeah.
more we can make it so that you can have access whenever you need it is
Sure.
a key of remaining relevant, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. So as you look forward, what do you think the industry is going to look like 3 to 5 years out, both in terms of how consumers bank, which you kind of spoke to a bit just a minute ago, how you market to them, and what the competitive landscape might look like?
Well, the competitive landscape will just continue toward consolidation, I think. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad thing. It helps us invest in the tools to help members get what they need from their organization. And I think, one big change I think it's just impossible to ignore, is the power of AI. And
Mm.
if you haven't played with Chat GPT and just been floored by how well it churns out things that previously took marketers hours, if not days, to compile themselves.
Right.
I think that's just the beginning, So we've been looking at that and using it ourselves, and my teams have embraced it. Let's not resist this thing. That's
Right.
an irresistible force. So how that plays out in banking, I think, is yet to be fully imagined. But one of the things I think is going to come from it is again this power of data to unlock insights, not just for us, but for members.
Right.
Um, you know, if you think about a tool that's been around for a long time, is something called personal financial management. Think about
Hmm.
Mint, for example,
Yeah.
and this idea of managing your finances through this tool that's going to help you understand your budget and maybe save more money, or be more effective as a user of financial services. But a very small fraction of the U.S. market really uses PFM tools, and so the potential for AI married with data to provide insights proactively that removes any effort by the consumer,
Yeah.
I think is an exciting thing to
Yeah.
contemplate. Some organizations are experimenting with that already, but there's so much acceleration in that technology space that the potential for that to rapidly evolve is no longer measured in years. It might be
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, that's it's really interesting. It's going beyond using AI to help you better create products and market to your members, but it's using AI to provide more meaningful value to your members by putting the power of AI into helping them be better financial stewards and which at the end of the day may benefit the credit union because they think about different tools that they could use or should use to better their financial position, which may steer them towards you. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's pretty fascinating. And just thinking about it that way, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So I'm curious. Do you currently work with any marketing agencies, and if so, what are they helping you do?
Oh yeah, yeah. We work with a number of different agencies. We
Okay.
have a local marketing agency who helps us kind of tap into the skill sets we don't have on staff. But we don't stop there. We have a marketing automation agency, helps provide depth on the bench for how we're using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Um, we have a digital marketing agency, and I've worked with many digital agencies, but this is one of the best I've ever worked with.
That's great.
And then let's see. So we've got the local agency, the marketing automation agency. We've got the digital marketing agency. We also augment our staff in other resource areas like CX, for example,
Okay.
our business intelligence unit,
Okay.
IT, of course. So there's lots of ways we tap into kind of the ability for other organizations to manage some talent and depth on the bench and provide backstops. Um,
That's
it's
great.
particularly challenging if you try to do that in house for especially smaller organizations. You end up with maybe finding some talent that's great, but then people move on, something
Yeah.
changes in their careers or their personal lives, and then you've got this gap, and that can
Yeah.
be very painful.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
agency resources are a great way to kind of augment staff and talent and create a much more smooth
Yeah.
support to the organization.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask you next, sort of what you see, just generally speaking, the advantages of in-house support versus agencies, and what you just mentioned sort of gives a little bit of a nod to the agencies and just being not having to rely on backfilling or anything like that. But any other advantages on either side, in-house versus agencies?
Well, we do have an in-house team, and I call them my team of rock stars because they really are a talented team.
That's
They
great.
are small but mighty, but I can tell you I sleep a lot better at night knowing that we've got agencies who help bring that talent pool and depth on the bench. But
Right.
there's another advantage of an agency, and that is you know, we in-house teams can become myopic. We're dealing
Sure.
only with our industry, and yet agencies deal oftentimes with a variety of industries and can bring a depth of experience that can help challenge our way of thinking. Right? When I look for an agency partner, I don't want order takers.
Yeah.
I want somebody who can have the chops to challenge my thinking
Yeah.
and potentially bring new ideas to the table we may not have thought of.
Yeah, no, that's great. And not every marketer sort of thinks in those terms. Not every marketer gives the agency a seat at the strategy table or the business planning table, and so yeah, just being able to see the value of an agency on that level, I think is hats off to you for recognizing that and frankly finding the agencies that are capable of delivering that. So I'm curious, any advice you give to a marketer, not necessarily in the banking industry, but just in general, thinking about bringing a new agency on board?
Sure. I guess in my past, the ones that I've felt were the most successful partnerships were ones that I approached the process just like hiring an employee, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. You look for capabilities and expertise, but to me, the importance of cultural fit it can't be overstated. Our internal teams work very closely with their agency partners. I mean, we have weekly meetings across the organization with all of the agencies and external resources that we bring
Mm-hmm.
to bear. Um, and you have to like the people you work with, right?
Sure.
I mean, it helps a lot, and so that process of kind of discovering what it's like to work with an agency is very much an interviewing process. It's almost like hiring an employee. They're an extension of our team. And so when we go through that process, we do ask, questions that aren't just about their capabilities and their expertise and what they've done for others, but what's it like to work with them?
Okay. Yeah.
So
No, it's important. Yeah. And it's sometimes tough to really sort of get at sort of the character of the agency on that level when you're, interviewing them or having them pitch you or whatever. So it's good that you dive down and go beyond just sort of the functional look at the agency to get a sense as to what kind of fit they're going to be, what kind of partner they're going to be for you. So I think that's fantastic. So my last question is, if an agency was trying to knock down your door and attempting to win business from you, what advice would you give them?
well, I think it's a similar challenge to winning any kind of marketing challenge. Do your homework, know a little bit about our industry, research our organization before you ever reach out to me. Think about it. From my perspective, if you're a marketing agency trying to win the nod for me to choose you to help us market our organization, the first impression you make with me is how you market yourself to me.
Right.
And, I spend some time on LinkedIn, but I can't tell you how many agencies or reach out and they're immediately selling. And I'm just sorry that if spray and pray is your methodology for winning business, then great, go down the street and buy a lottery ticket because your odds are better, at least with me. Um,
Oh, I love it. I love it.
so,
Yeah, it is crazy. But somehow, some way, you mentioned LinkedIn. Our company ended up on an agency list, so I get emails like you get emails from agencies, or
yeah,
LinkedIn in mails or whatever you want to call them. And it is. It's just fascinating how salesy some of them can be.
right. Well,
So
ultimately, that is the goal, right? We do have to ask for the business, but the
sure.
process by which we go through that with our own members is something that, we look, if we're going to treat our agency partner as an extension of our team, our staff, we need to know that you get like the importance of having our members at the center of our business decisions, how we market to them. The first leading indicator of an agency who gets that is how they market themselves. So, don't shortchange yourselves. Don't go for the sale immediately. You got to prove that you're relevant and that
Definitely.
you can add value. And the way you do that, I think, is through a lot of storytelling and other things that we do as well. So it's all this dance of trying to, be relevant and and show that you can add value.
Yeah. Do you do like you do, and
Right.
I like that. That sort of boils it down to a pretty simple concept and a good one. Well, listen, David, this has been a great conversation. Really appreciate your time. Got some great insights that I think will be really helpful, not just to people playing in the banking and credit union industry, but other industries as well. And jealous of those pictures behind you. I know you're in Idaho. It's beautiful country there, and hope you have a great rest of the week and a great weekend.
Yeah, it's great to spend time with you. Thank you, and happy 2023.
Yep, absolutely. Same to you. Thanks so much.